Welcome to the Virtual Powered Teams podcast, now with AI. And today we have a very exciting guest, Pawel Podziewski. Pawel, we've known each other for many years and work for the same company, but he's an IT leader with passion for business. And any of these words have a lot of weight. You know, he's been doing a lot of IT roles and he will share. And also on a very senior business level, engaging with senior C-level executives. And one of the last roles, he was also heading the IT security and cybersecurity, which is a very hot topic right now. So we really have somebody with huge experience. Pawel, I'm very pleased. Please tell us with your own words who you are and what you do.
So thank you, Peter. Good to see you, and good to be part of the conversation in front of your big audience. So really humbling. As you said, I am an IT digital technology leader, 27 plus years of experience in big corporation, FMCG, so fast-moving consumer goods, manufacturing. And I had the privilege to actually work and collaborate and be part of many of the business functions, being part of course, of IT. So that would include corporate, so finance, HR, legal, shared service. I had a number of roles, several roles in manufacturing, supply chain, also sales. And as you mentioned, I also had more recently a number of global IT leadership roles, including cybersecurity, including IT services, and more recently, I led the corporate IT function for my employer, long-time employer. Now, after 27 years, I pivoted my career. So I finished a few months ago, took a bit of time off to really reflect as, okay, what's next, what direction to take. Also decided to take a bit of time for myself and leverage the time productively. So I spent a few months doing two programs with a very reputable university here in the UK. And I've done two programs, one on strategy, because strategy and business value has been my passion for a number of years. I just wanted to bring my knowledge of the subject up to the right level, up to speed, up to date. And then the other program I've decided to do was on data and analytics, so big data, but more importantly, in the context of business decision making. So a bit of time for myself. And I believe that those two are contributing quite well to my overall expertise and experience over the years across IT, business transformation, shared service, supply chain, corporate functions. So happy to be here. Now I am joining from London, where I've been living for the last 20 years. My surname is a bit difficult. I'm from Poland, and if you're into football, you can call me Lewandowski. That's okay with me.
That's a good one, particularly in Germany, very popular.
Indeed.
Okay.
Now in Spain as well, I think.
Yes. So you mentioned, you did this degree and program, and you mentioned the decision making, and this is one of the area where AI is stepping in big time. You know, ChatGPT and generative AI has been very popular, has been the elephant in the room. But in fact, other models, predictive, descriptive analytics, they support managers to make real-time decisions. So would you like to maybe zoom in a little bit in this non-generative AI and what are the advantages for leader there?
Yeah, it is a good point, Peter. And of course, through my pivot in my career, a bit of time off, I'm clearly aware of AI, Gen AI especially, is a recent phenomenon, everyone is. And also I positioned the two programs in that context, how digital, how AI more specifically can add and contribute and steer company strategies. And equally, data analytics is a very important factor, very tightly integrated. And then through the course, I learned something which is probably very logical, but you have the 5 V's of data. So you have volume, usually big volume, you have velocity, you have variety, so different sources, different types of data. You have veracity, which stands for quality. And also you have the value, which I think is probably the most important. We as on the topical subject of data and analytics, but also AI and what capabilities it brings to the business. I think the key outcome is value. Now, more specifically on data analytics, very simple three definitions. So one is descriptive. So really definition as what happened. And that's been traditionally in place for quite a number of years, if not longer, really describing the dashboards, really describing the reports, and then demonstrating business performance. The other important angle from my perspective, what I learned was the predictive analytics. So what is likely to happen, what's gonna happen, and this is where the machine learning, this is where the new algorithms, the new technology is playing more and more of an important role. It's been there for quite some time, but I think it is exploding right now even more, with more use cases, with more utilization across business. And then the final one is prescriptive. So really what happened, what is likely to happen, and what you as the business, what should you do based on the information, based on the data available. So this was not a huge discovery, but I think a good method for me to structure the subject on my mind and also paint it in the picture in the context of AI, Gen AI, and all the very, very recent excitement, so to speak.
Excellent. They said in the predictive part, if you train it right, if you provide a number of data, it could be very precise, amazingly precise, far beyond any human can ever, be able to do. I guess you had many case studies there. Can you recall some case study on the predictive, something like an example, short example?
Yeah, so maybe Peter, before I zoom into the sort of the examples, maybe a bit of a context of Gen AI or AI specifically, because I do not see this subject as popping out from nowhere, out of a sudden. I rather see this as an ongoing transformation for the last number of years, maybe even decades, where implementation of IT, implementation of technology, systems, IoT, data analytics, cloud, and so has been a journey. So I get the excitement. I know that right now everything seems to be about AI and Gen AI, but I see it more as a continuum, and I see this as an evolution of technology, continuation of the digital transformation / digital revolution. And yeah, going a bit more now into the subject of AI. The subject, and I think you finished mathematics at university, Peter. I finished IT, studying information technology. We know that AI, or more specifically, some of the algorithms like neural networks have been there for quite a number of years. It is a known subject. But what was added in recent years was the computing power, which is great to see. What was added was also data. There is masses of data right now, and the data can be used to actually train the models.
Yes.
And that was an obstacle. That was a limitation of the algorithm, of the technology in the past. And also, I believe that the consumerization has happened, especially in the last 2-3 years. I think that the ChatGPT actually opened AI to the masses big time, and show a very friendly face, but equally quite an intelligent face of what is the art of the possible. So I just wanted to stress, consumerization, computing power, and data, and the richness of data, especially if it comes to training and practicing the algorithms, an important factor.
Yes.
Now, on the predictive, look, it's been in the space of business for some few years. I think that optimization of inventories, optimization of supply chain, the matching of demand and supply are just few key algorithms of few key use cases in the business. And in the last few years, that field is exploding. There is more and more and more and more sophisticated stuff. So
yes, more accurate. Yes, thank you. So let's look, how do we start? Because Gen AI, you could still feed it with your context, and there are other complexities. But in order to run machine learning algorithms and all this predictive, prescriptive, and so on, you need to prepare your data. And the organizations have a lot of data, but are they ready? And how can you start? And maybe what's the lead time until you can make some sense and extract some value from them?
yeah, so I think it is an important subject, and it is exciting, but as you said, it might not necessarily be a very simple one, especially if it comes to big organizations, maybe multinational, maybe operating across multiple countries, global supply chain. So the subject can become quite sophisticated in a way. Now, on the AI readiness side, as I mentioned, I do not see this as a standalone subject, the AI subject. I rather see this as a composition, as part of a wider IT portfolio. So maybe not to touch on strategy, but in the portfolio of a particular IT department, I'd like to see AI subject being represented. So first of all, what is our plan? What is our portfolio? And then how do we position AI as a subject would be an important starting point for me. And in that, I also emphasize that I do not believe that for most of the companies, AI is the only subject. There is still the factor of other initiatives like modernization of your technology. There might be still systems to be implemented. There might be still digitization journey to continue. I think there has to be also a consideration of simplification, call it complexity reduction, in anticipation to more and more technology coming your way. There might be also still data center modernization, maybe migration to cloud. Certainly, as you mentioned, data is an important prerequisite, factor, fuel, in a way to the machine. So I just want to emphasize that it has to be on top of the mind of the CIOs and IT leaders that AI is a factor. It is an important subject, but no means it's the only one. That's one of the key message here. Now, within the AI, I think there would be opportunities, and I would urge the IT leaders, the IT professionals to really think about what are the opportunities. Try to really maybe segment them and think ways that we would like to focus, because then the opportunities will drive the use cases. The use cases will drive the prerequisite on data and so. Now, the other factor, Peter, I believe, is architecture. So again, what we know is that to apply technology, most of the cases is not very, very difficult until you start integrating it with other solutions, until you start feeding the machine, fueling the solution. So then you need to think about integration. You need to think about, okay, how many systems do I have? How complex is my estate? And the more complex, the more difficult it's going to be to actually bring it all together. Then you also need, in that context, to think about the data architecture. And right now, technology evolved so much that it is very, very simple to copy data and then copy data and copy that data and multiply it many, many, many times. It is quite simple to do, but equally, every multiplication means cost. It means processing power, it means storage, it means complexity. So a smart approach as how to go about preparation of data, how to go about really storing the data as few times as possible, ensuring quality of the data is going to be key. And then the final factor around the architecture is also, what is my approach if it comes to delivering my solutions? So in the corporate world I'm used to, there's been an approach of renting a solution, so software as a service is the description. Then if you cannot do it, maybe you buy the solution, and if you cannot do it, then maybe you build it yourself. And where I worked before, the paradigm was more towards really software as a service or a ready-made off-the-shelf solutions. But other companies and many companies may have different approaches. So I think that you need to fine-tune your architecture to the way you deliver your solutions, and then make it compatible for AI. That's, I believe, an important factor. The other factor of readiness is people. And being in the technology space, and AI is one of the technologies, you know that a success of technology depends on utilization, usage, adoption, the people sentiment coming from the solutions and its use. So I think that is an important factor. And people need to learn. People need to have the space to experiment. People need to, especially from the business side, feel ownership, and there is lots of opportunity in that space. There might be also suppliers, there might be partners, if perhaps there are instances where IT is somewhat a mixed model with partners, system integrators, and so delivering solutions. They might have a lot of IP, they might have a lot of experience in that space. So joining forces with them is very important. And then on the preparatory side, as I mentioned, AI is a hot subject in a positive sense. But also because of the consumerization, everyone knows about it. And that includes the executives, that includes, call it the business folks. So it's not just limited to IT. And people are eager, people are keen, including the exec levels. So just driving the awareness, helping them understand what it is, what is not, what it takes to actually implement, what are the positive sides, what are the prerequisites, and maybe requirements for investment. I think that makes it a very, very interesting, preparation in a way. And those people are also under pressure. Recently, I heard stories about investors really putting pressure on companies, saying, "Okay, what are you doing about AI? Because it's coming, it's there, it's fantastic." So companies really need to think about the stories. And of course, in that, there is the ethics and the responsibility. Companies' IP, especially, I think businesses are mindful of leveraging the models, leveraging the capabilities, sophistication of AI, but not necessarily sharing the IP, not necessarily sharing the competitive advantage information or secrets with other companies. I think that is an important factor. Again, touching on the utilization and people.
Yes.
Then very, very quickly, then I pause maybe here. I think governance is a factor. And also finally, the economics. It has to make sense from an economic perspective. Otherwise, you can have the greatest technology of the planet, but if it's super expensive, or if it is actually not providing return on investment, it doesn't go far.
You mentioned when you started with AI as part of IT portfolio, which put it under the CIO when you mentioned CIO. Who leads actually IT? What is optimal from your perspective and maybe from your experience, where to position AI leadership, not IT, if I said IT, AI, who would be best positioned in a business to lead AI for extracting the optimal business value?
It is a good question, and probably the answer depends to some degree, business by business or company by company, industry by industry. I would feel though that it is a subject which is, in my opinion, parallel to data, and very, of course, closely associated with systems. So IT will play a significant role. And I believe that in many cases, CIO will probably take a lead role, I call it an ownership role, if you want. And maybe that is yet another evolution on the horizon, or maybe happening already, where the CIO from chief technology or chief information officer is moving then to data, and now is perhaps also going to cover AI as a subject. But equally, I believe that because of the impact, the positive value it can deliver to the business, I would imagine that there is a broader anchor. So certainly in some cases, many cases, I think that the link has to go somewhat to the management board or to the executive level. I would feel like maybe some companies will establish a dedicated steering committee where there is a group focusing on the subject, and maybe that group then reports back to the CEO level or the management board level. So that's probably the link, and equally to the link, I think that it is important to consider AI as quite a fundamental shift, a shift which is charged by technology but has a number of business implications and can be leveraged by business and business functions. So I think that that is a factor in really constructing the ownership of governance. I also believe that data, as we touched on, it plays a significant role, and good data means good outcome. Not so good data probably will challenge the return on investment. And then I would also feel that if it comes to the composition of the group, really, key people, CIO would be key / CTO, so Chief Technology Officer. Cyber, I have lots of passion, lots of experience, sympathy to cyber. It is an important factor. If an organization has a data lead, certainly data would be represented in that group. I would also seriously consider legal, and that in my mind should be a really mandatory thing from a legal, IP, regulatory, reputation perspective. And also I would add to that HR and finance. Now HR, because we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and that is also touching on people, people leveraging AI, but also perhaps people being a little bit of maybe concerned, so-called, what does it mean? So the organizational impact, both positive and mitigation of perhaps some negative sentiments would be important from HR perspective. And finance for the economics perspective. So again, how to make the cases, how to drive value without actually investing loads and loads of money with not so clear outcomes. So I would, again, as I said, it may differ company by company. I would certainly believe linked to the top level executive committee. I think they're interested, and the fundamental shift is so big that they need to know, need to be involved, need to sponsor. IT plays a role, and then functional representation from the key functions in a cross-functional setup. Would you, Peter, because you also have some experience, you're talking to lots of people, is that making sense, you reckon? Is that broadly what we see?
In terms of comprehensive steering committee, yes, those are the functions. And if you put like ethical AI and so on, HR and legal, you have some kind of specialized aspects that require extra care, like data on the tech side, and then ethical. Some alternative approaches, if you go more not across the board, but you start with specific use cases, also big ones, like you mentioned, for example, meeting demand and supply, have operations and marketing involved. So there, the recommendation is to pick one senior leader. This is like on a project level, who has more skin in the game, being the marketing, operations, whatever, and to oversee the initiative from the beginning till the end, not to pass the ownership, because it happened to create confusion. So that was one. If you probably in the early days, you start with the most important and the most valuable business cases and projects, you have like a single ownership. But this is on a project level. I think on the other kind of horizontal aspects, you need a steering committee which would address it holistically.
Yeah, and absolutely. And if you run a transformation, or if there is a lot of investment and lots of capability built of expectation in a particular function, like maybe supply chain, as you mentioned. So equally, if the transformation is big enough, maybe you can even anchor it to the COO, like if a company has a chief operating officer,
Yes.
that could be also a good link. And I've seen perhaps IT reporting to that person, maybe data and shared service also. So it could be also a bit of a model.
And the other aspect, which is not governance, but operationally critical for success, is you have you introduce new people with new mindset and skills. Those are the data scientists and the people that come with AI mindset. And if you try to integrate them, I know this from the practice working with some clients, if you try to put them in the IT teams, and they have to operate closely with IT teams because it's about operations in the end and the data management and so on, they may be like in other innovation scenarios as an immune system rejected and pushed back. So this is not only on a steering level, but also you need to be very as a leader, a good change manager to make sure that those parties cooperate, because it's a different mindset. IT are about efficiency, automation, and the data scientists come with a mindset to distill knowledge and principle and learning from all these huge amounts of data, and they become smarter and smarter, which is a bit of a creative kind of conflict and tension. And this is something that has to be addressed on a bit lower level through kind of proper leadership and ensuring they understand each other. And so this is another aspect which is probably relatively new. As you said, it was continuum, it was incremental and evolution. But on the other hand, it's quite a new mindset towards the IT existing one. It requires a special team building activities, if you wish, and understanding.
Indeed, Peter, and here I agree. And as what I said at the beginning on the AI subject, the consumerization is an important factor. So what it means is the technology is almost available to the users, to the business. In some cases, extreme cases, they could say we don't need IT. That's probably too extreme. Yeah, they definitely need IT. But that's an example where I've seen cases where IT said, okay, we are delivering the platform. We are delivering the technical capabilities. We perhaps feeding it with data from different sources. And then that capability is then given, provided to the business functions, i.e. supply chain, marketing, finance, whoever. And then the functions are equipped with the experts, knowing the domain, but also knowing how to leverage data, how to manipulate data, or how to derive insights, foresights from data, and then also similarly how to drive the algorithms, go through the learning and then utilize the technology. So, and as you said, that model also depends on a degree of good, healthy professional tension, which then delivers a good outcome with collaboration, but also the degree of perhaps healthy challenge. Yeah.
Yes, excellent. So now having you being a senior IT security officer and dealing with cybersecurity, let's look now at IT security and cybersecurity a bit through the AI lens. What challenges AI introduce, maybe what things AI can help us deliver, enable us. So what are the implications of AI on cybersecurity in a corporate perspective?
It is a good point, Peter, yes. And I still vividly remember my time in cybersecurity, 2.5 years, and one of probably the more challenging jobs, exciting, but still quite challenging. So I have a lot of sympathy with the cybersecurity team, the chief information security officers. And I see AI both positive and of course source of a challenge. So on the positive front, I believe that the technology and the computing power, the amount of data it can process is and will continue benefiting cybersecurity big time. Mm-hmm. And it is being incorporated. It is already incorporated in some of the tools. And I believe that the trend will definitely continue. And then you will see AI in helping manage risk, assess the security posture, having stronger protection mechanisms, monitoring. A lot of the monitoring, majority of the IT monitoring is digital events. It can be collected, it can be captured through logs and everything else. It can be processed, it can be analyzed, can be correlated. Many companies have in-house teams, some have perhaps outsourced specialized teams like security operations centers and so there is a great opportunity here, I believe, and there has to be. I hope that the big technological companies will continue investing in that space. Otherwise, without the tools, without the sophistication, without the benefits of AI, the cybersecurity job will become even more and more difficult, so unmanageable. So that's on the positive side, definitely there. Now, on the challenging side, equally, having said this, the adversaries, the cyber criminals and so, can and are utilizing AI. So what benefits the CISOs, it is also perhaps benefiting the adversaries. So they're becoming more and more sophisticated. There are many more systems to protect. You need to integrate, you need to deal with all the additional technology. So that is, again, a challenge. I think also we touched on a consumerization, processing power, but also data. There is more and more data, and then some of the data, maybe historical and so, there is a desire to actually pass them in a hopefully secure way through the AI models. And that then poses challenge on what is the data? Is it classified? Is it maybe the more sensitive data or the most confidential, or is it normal? Can it be processed? Who can have access to it? So I think that this area is becoming more and more sophisticated. Plus, of course, having spent so much time in cyber, you need to deal with the users, you need to deal with the awareness and education, you need to collaborate with the different functions, legal, HR. And also, if you scroll fast forward, there is the phenomenon of agentic AI. And so is it going to be that the cybersecurity teams are driving awareness of the users only, or they need also to consider the agentic AI factor as well? So definitely evolving world. And one factor I'd like to emphasize here is that cybersecurity teams are doing great jobs, but someone described it to me as the goalkeepers, talking football. Yeah, so they're really protecting and helping the team not to lose any goal. But equally, they need the team of the attackers. They need the help of the midfield, the defense to really protect themselves and then attack and then be proactive and shift left, as we say it, so secure by design. And the success of cybersecurity more and more depends on the collaboration and the hard work of the other parts of IT, the designers, the developers, the services, as well as the overall contribution of the business and business functions, including some of the third parties, suppliers, customers, and so.
Yes.
So overall, I think there is a big impact from GI, Gen AI and AI in particular. There is some positives, definitely, but those require effort to invest, those require investment to invest. And I think there is still a lot of and more complexity, more challenge coming from the AI world. So it's going to be busy time, and those guys definitely need focus, help, investment.
Yes. Yes, I'll just throw a few kind of anecdotal buzzwords. One is, as you mentioned, the malicious intent. Since Gen AI, since ChatGPT 3.5 appeared, the amount of phishing attempts significantly, like 50, 70%, or I forgot how many, because it's much easier to have personalized messages that can trick you if you wish. The other is prompt hacking. So you may have so far a well-established access control, as you commented on that. But now you put this in a GenAI large language model. You may build your own RAG, this retrieval augmented. You put your internal data into a large language model so you can query. And then through a smart prompting, even if in the original system you don't have access, you may be able to extract. So I think the life of the cybersecurity will be more difficult, and you need to leverage on the tool to kind of cope with the new challenges. And because you mentioned agentic AI, and I love it in terms of enabling us and doing things for us, but also becoming a team member and so on. So you need to integrate it. And also there were people saying, now you mentioned software as a service, that like now the AI agents will kill this industry. It will be kind of distributed between a number of agents. So I'm not sure if you want to comment on any of this, or we leave it there. This is more like anecdotal kind of comments.
Look, I am observing this and trying to be educated, trying to research, be part of it as much as possible. Peter, I believe there is that trend, but equally I see the benefits, but equally I don't believe this is trivial, challenge. And we all remember, anecdotes about self-driving cars. We remember the excitement about IoT and maybe even data and analytics and what you can really drive from it. It is true, but it is on a big scale in a complicated environment. It's not so trivial, not so easy to achieve the outcome of a corporate grade scale complexity solution. So I believe that there is opportunity, and that's probably the biggest one I see from AI, that it can actually augment, it can enrich the corporate solutions, being it ERP, being it CRMs, being it, I don't know, IT estate management systems, as an example, not to mention any name. There is certainly opportunity here, and let's see the big players. They have big investments. They can really develop something truly amazing, benefiting the business all together. And I think that a big head of CRM company or CEO of a big US CRM company, he made lots of promises. He even is criticizing some of his peers from other big IT company. So let's see. I think the jury is open. It is very prospectus area, but it requires a big effort, big push from the big established software houses. So yes.
Sure. And you can mention names, so don't be shy. It's not.
So that would be like Salesforce and SAP and ServiceNow and then Microsoft in frame.
Yes.
I think that many, especially the software companies, they actually counting a lot of or betting a lot of revenue streams and benefits coming from their software.
Yes.
And equally, they're well positioned here. They have deployed the software globally. They have a power if it comes to the marketplace. They have also the data. They have the algorithms, the more transactional algorithms there. The data is there. So if they apply really some of the sophisticated mechanisms through AI, I think that can be only beneficial to the businesses. And I'm sure that many businesses are counting on it. Yeah. And in the right way, I think it's perhaps better to wait a little bit to see when SAP develops an agent rather than developing it by yourself, unless there is a very big competitive advantage or big return on investment. You probably wait and see and then leverage the capability. But as I said, I am a little bit realistically cautious here because I've seen promises on automation, I've seen promises on process optimization and so on. Yes, some of that materialized, but it took time, it took effort. So yes, definitely an area to observe. And personally, as I have lots of passion for business and business values, yes, I'm waiting for the for the capabilities, for the benefits.
Yes. Yes, I think the original statement that AI agents will kill SaaS, software as a service, came from Meta and Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. and they are building agents, they're building agents to kind of replace their software engineers internally. But on more kind of feasible front, there were a number of long podcasts with Satya Nadella from Microsoft, and he was quite openly sharing what they do in this space in terms of putting all the application server, the business logic, they put it in a, he called it foundry, like foundry, in a metal processing. And it's quite agentic and quite granular, and you could use it internally, externally. So it is exciting space, and they experiment big time, the big players internally, and I guess they will commercialize it probably in a due course.
Yeah, equally, Meta is not, at least per my knowledge, they are not the experts in enterprise software, so they can make those comments.
That's why I guess he made the comment that he would now take market share by having.
Yeah, I think there is lots of fight here for the market share and also, the budgets of IT. Equally, the people like SAP who actually are the experts, one of the big experts in enterprise software, they try to modernize their platform, and that is not proving very simple. Yeah, with the old version of ERP versus the S4HANA, the S4HANA adoption is still not great, and the platform has been on the market for more than 10 years. So that demonstrates it's not so straightforward. Yes, even Satya mentioned that big portion of the code at Microsoft is now written by agents.
30%, he said.
30%, this is the number I also heard, Peter, you're right. And that may accelerate, but yeah, it is a complex, complicated matter. So yeah, if you start from scratch from nowhere, maybe, but equally, I wouldn't underestimate the complexity. And the analogy for me is the self-driving car. It was promised a long time ago. Many companies invested a lot of money. It's probably still not there, at least not in Europe. Maybe it is in US or maybe China equally. So yeah.
Nope. I absolutely share with you the complexity in a corporate environment is so high. So you couldn't create independent agents that can synchronize and create the melody. It's only, I would believe, maybe wrong, like Microsoft. You have a big player and they could have a quite orchestrated architecture of agents correlated, and they could tackle a complex business challenge. But we will see, I'm sure, all of that.
We'll see, yes. Yeah.
Now, invitation for a story. What was your more exotic or exciting experience with AI? Could be in a private life, could be in the corporate. What comes first to mind?
Look, what comes first to mind, and I don't think I'm gonna be like, shocking anyone, but it is my genuine experience. When I zoom into ChatGPT, and that was like a couple of years ago for the first time when it became popular, to really understand, okay, what's behind and so on, I really discovered something called neural networks, which with a bit of oversimplification, that's something I learned at university long time ago, a few decades ago. And I found the subject then fascinating, but also quite limiting, because then you had the concept, you can apply the concept, but in a simple way. The challenge was how to train the model, because data wasn't widely available, and the computing power wasn't there. So suddenly, okay, it's nice theory. And then the theory, okay, I finished university, moved to the corporate world, and didn't follow on that front. But then suddenly I said, oh, that sounds familiar. So it's the same thing. And it is great to actually see it now working, seeing it delivering very impressive results, while the algorithm and the theory has been known for many decades. And that's thanks to the development of computing power, the processing, the big name behind I call it NVIDIA, driving the computing power. And by the way, it's not just the hardware, it's primarily the software also. And also the amount of data now you have available through digitization in the corporate world, in the personal world, and altogether on the internet. I think those are the two main shifts which made the theory, which I knew from like a long time ago, suddenly coming to life and say, oh, where is that coming from? That's fantastic to see. And then added to that, the consumerization. So now everyone can see it. It's not like AI, I don't know, supply chain optimization, where most of the users wouldn't have a clue. Now everyone can see it, everyone can touch it, everyone can write a prompt and then see, oh, it is actually very, very, very clever. It is fantastic to see. So that's probably my experience over the years, like from long time ago to nothing, and then eventually, oh, that's great to see. It is fantastic.
Yes.
And maybe a short anecdote also on the consumerization and the users. In my last job, we were on a mission to actually find use cases for AI.
Mhm.
And then without mentioning maybe the particular department, we approached a department at my company saying, okay, for you guys, that could be a good opportunity because the subject they led was important for the business.
Mhm.
And we felt in IT, oh, it's great opportunity. And the leadership of the team, of that particular team said, no, we're great, we don't need any tools.
Mhm.
Then that discussion ended. And then to our surprise, 2 weeks later,
Mhm.
they came back to us and said, oh, guys, yeah, we want to continue the conversation. Actually, we thought about the subject, we thought about the opportunity, we
Mhm.
did our research, we spoke to a few companies, we tried a few things in a sort of ethical way. And yeah, we think that there could be a merit. And
Mhm.
then by working together, we came up with like 6, 7 use cases
Mhm.
for further exploration. Yeah? And that is just demonstrating to me that the power of AI being consumerization expanded to the power of the business functions and an invitation and co-ownership. I think that can drive a fantastic outcome. Yeah? And even the guys, the team was so excited. They said, look, maybe we secure a bit of an incremental investment and effort to implement. So from pretty much rejection in a very quick period of time, that turned to be quite positive and excited about the subject. So I think that is just an example of how this can be applied to the business, at least to trigger the conversation and the positive energy.
Excellent.
It's not
Excellent.
technical by any stretch of imagination, but I
Yes.
think that the adoption, the rate, the success is going to eventually depend on people. People supporting and a business function supporting IT in coming up with the use cases and then leveraging the technology
Mhm.
forward. So yes, those are my sort of
Do you know
two.
which use case they choose? Can you give one example?
I probably would prefer not to mention it, but it was something to do with legal factors. So call it
Yeah, marketing and
regulatory
legal are the
authorities. So yes, yeah.
first candidates with a.
So something which, yeah, you could argue could be a sort of first choice of the case or use case, or maybe you could argue, or maybe not the first choice. And
Mhm.
actually, there was some big excitement about it. So, yeah.
Excellent. Let's look a little bit now on a more strategic level, because you also mentioned you did this strategy and you operated on a very senior level. Let's look now how AI can help to drive the business in a more strategic, fluid way. For example, we know Amazon is doing this for years. They had like a fluid pricing, depends on market dynamics, and they could change the price in real time if you wish. Some people claim even the business model can change real time depending on good sensing of the market dynamics. So, what do you think? How AI will enable us, or what will be the implications of AI on business strategy? Would it become more fluid or more democratized? And also on business models. You may
Mm.
address them separately or as you prefer.
Yeah, so I think it is already having some impact. And as I mentioned, all the technology, all the technological digital transformation, data and analytics, now AI. Probably see maybe 3 dimension from my perspective. So one dimension is productivity.
Mhm.
And they are already tools. They are embedded probably into the likes of Microsoft, Teams, Word, Copilot, whatever. So those are tools readily available, and they can make notes. They can make all sorts of different things, which I'm sure that the audience is very familiar. So I think that is a path of really driving the investment, driving the adoption. Again, in a smart way, because it is not coming for free, has to be continuously measured against the benefits. Are we really, saving on the productivity? Are we allowing people to focus on more strategic activities? But that's definitely one angle. And then connected to that, I believe, is also the employee kind of journey. So where in big corporations or in bigger companies, maybe multinational and so, the factor of employee self-service, shared service, access to personal information, movers, joiners, leavers, and so on and so forth. I think there is a lot the AI can do. And also, in my opinion, the adoption there is within a relatively safe environment, because then you're talking about your people, you're talking about the change impacting your people. So even if something is not perfect, then you can gather the feedback loop, and then you can improve accordingly. So I would probably bundle the two together as call it the employee focused, and then there is the productivity angle to really unleash some potential, some time for more strategic, more value-add activities. Mm-hmm. Now, the other subject is, in my opinion, the strategically prioritized focus, where, again, talking a little bit more from the consumer goods or manufacturing perspective, there is a lot of potential in the customer interaction. Mm-hmm. Customer, if you run a customer business, or maybe consumer, equally so. That, of course, depends if your consumer interactions are digitized through either direct-to-consumer engagement or maybe e-commerce solutions and so on and so forth, if that is realistic for your business. So there is a lot of potential to really engage, play a story to the consumers, get the feedback, capture the data, apply sophisticated algorithms, and then evolve your knowledge, your understanding of the consumer, and then in turn actually provide better service, better offer, being it better product, alternative product, and so on and so forth. And then pricing also perhaps touches on some of the aspects, including supply chain. Equally, I believe that R&D is definitely a subject worth investing and worth the focus. Mm-hmm. And maybe for some of the companies who are maybe more scientific, there is definitely also the science aspect where I believe there is a huge potential. It's probably not so straightforward. It is not just, I apply ChatGPT or Gen AI and then I have, I don't know, a recipe or something new, a fundamental breakthrough innovation. But this is where I believe a huge potential lies if it comes to the application of AI and a further evolution, further investment. So yeah, that's probably the two main areas, which is the productivity / employee side, the more strategic consumer, your product, maybe pricing, maybe a revenue maximization, and so on and so forth, which in turn can be also quite flexible. Now, the flexibility of your model in that sense, Peter, may not be driven by the speed of AI or the speed of your software or the speed with which you can maybe adjust it. There might be also equally some technological barrier, I don't know, pricing, recipes, logistics, deliveries, and so. But yes, there is definitely a great potential in that sense. And in the strategy program, there's been lots of technological examples. I think the strategy professors nowadays, they like the examples because they are very modern, they are very big companies. You mentioned Amazon as an example. So there are good use cases and good references. If nothing else, then just to think about how to challenge the models. Of course, not everyone can be Amazon. And then the final point I have is a little bit more towards IT I also believe that the third, in my opinion, angle here is the IT for IT. So that could be monitoring, and then event creation, i.e., if the solution sees an issue, a problem or so, then the solution can maybe generate a ticket on itself or in the relevant system, and then that can be followed. That is just a bit of an example of intelligence and automation. You mentioned code development. That is certainly, in my opinion, a good area, and many big development companies are doing it, as we mentioned Microsoft. The advantage there is that you can actually measure the outcome through testing. So it's not like you create something and then you can,
Yes.
I don't know, create something nasty, because the code, you can actually test it. So through the test, you can eliminate the nastiness to a very large degree. So I think there is a good merit there. And also the code is a text. So the generative AI and sophistication can be really applied. And the other example we touched on briefly was cybersecurity, where I see this as a need for huge investment and a huge effort in the corporate world, but also in the technological world. And the investment is happening. I think there is one of the big companies bought another big company for 30 billion or so this week or last week, something like that. So I think it might have been Google, but I could be wrong. And they bought a cyber company with AI spin to it. So I think that is just an example of importance of the area.
Excellent. Excellent. By the way, Satya Nadella in the same interview went to say 30% of the code generated by AI. A lot of, he calls it eval works. All this testing, evaluation of the results is also done by AI. I'm not sure if he didn't mention percentage, but they go hand in hand and save a lot of effort.
Indeed.
More futuristic, which would link to my last question. But in terms of business models, we've seen, years ago, we had mainly products and services, and we went to subscription-based models, with Apple and iTunes, and now everywhere almost is subscription is the most popular way to scale. And they say now with AI, regardless what product you have, and maybe you put in R&D and development, days and years, when we reach much higher level of AI intelligence, like artificial super intelligence and so on, it would be able to copy a product and recreate it within, seconds or minutes, very short time. And then that would drive different kind of business models, different economy. But yes, if you have any views, say, I think with something that we will be exposed to as we start to redesign and recreate products in a very quick way.
Yeah, and especially, Peter, I think that in the digital space where your products are sort of digitized to a large extent, that speed can be definitely delivered.
Yes.
I think the challenge is perhaps more, in physical goods like consumer goods and so. Then you need to have the production, you need to have you need to buy materials, you need to have the lead time. So there might be some limitation there, but equally there can be aspects which are very flexible, and then the speed is going to be there. I just want to stress one thing in this context. For AI as well as for any other technology, that's also something I reflect on in the last few months, and something I maybe learn again, is there is a say that every problem has a solution. So every problem has a solution, but not every solution has a problem. Yeah. So in a way, if I put this into a business context, I think that we need to be imaginary and visionary, but equally we continuously need to go back to, okay, what is the problem, the business problem we are solving? What is the value proposition we are delivering to the consumers, to the customers, to the society, definitely to the shareholders? I think that is an important test.
Yes.
And I'm not saying I'm not just against any innovation or the sophistication, creativity, and so. But I think in a regular way, you need to go back to the basics because there is enough historical evidence of great technology is not always the winner. Yeah, sometimes a decent technology but applied to a real business problems, solving and driving consumer satisfactions, driving customer, intimacy and performance and happiness is worth much more than actually the sophistication, which is not necessarily solving a problem. So I think that, yes, we have to be imaginary in the context of AI, but equally, especially in the corporate world, as there is so much change and equally there is lots of pressure on budgets and everything. I think that people need to be smart to really demonstrate, okay, we focus on maybe there's 10 things we could do. We focus on 3, we deliver 2 in 3 months' time, that's the outcome. And then iterate the approach just to, show return on investment and keep everyone happy.
Yes, yes. By the way, on the comment about the materials and ordering, some of the bold thinkers, maybe a solution by itself, they kind of claim and believe that as we make progress in material science, and this is where a lot of investment is going, and also this will benefit also the healthcare, personalized treatment based on genomic data and so on. But we would be able, as we start to understand better the materials, we would be able on a molecule level to synthesize. So you will produce real time whatever you need just from the molecules, and the energy somehow is believed to be abundant with the solar and so on, if you could capture it. So probably it will be a very different world where with this intelligence you could synthesize what you need, and even not just for digital product, but for physical products, it could be a faster cycle of creation. And
definitely, and that would be definitely a game changer in that respect. Yes, yes.
Okay, so last question. We've made it. Now take your crystal ball out. You're a very pragmatic person, probably you don't need it. What do you think is the ultimate frontier of AI?
So look, Peter, you invited me here. I hope not for the last time, and hopefully you don't mind if I will be a little bit politically charged.
Okay,
go for it. We are 8th of May, 2025. There is lots going on in the sort of macro and political geo context. So I would say that AI becoming the next president of a big and powerful country would be my guess.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
I will not tell anyone who is that country or which country is that, but I feel like maybe at times we need something like that. Yes. Of course, this is a joke, yeah. So I know it's politically charged. I know there is lots happening, but on a more sort of pragmatic note, I think that I am assuming that the hype will continue. The investment, and there is a large investment, the technology development, the algorithms, the compute power, the data, and so will continue developing. I hope that there is going to be a bit more optimization, so we don't need so much power and we don't need so much energy and so. I think that there is still a little bit of tension or dynamics between, okay, is that going to be one? Is that going to be multiple? Is that going to be big model? Is that going to be smaller models and so on and so forth. So I think that the jury is still open, and I think that this is going to continue to be a very, very dynamic place. What I count on quite a lot is the development of more and more sophistication into the business layer, the likes of SAP, of the likes of Salesforce, ServiceNow, other applications, to really benefit the business. And make better decision, quicker processes, smoother run, perhaps achieve higher data quality, so the businesses can really run much smoother. Equally, also, if there was a way to ease the implementation barrier or the challenge related to implementation, I think I would welcome that as well. So that would be on the sort of enterprise side. My big guess. I think that the technology from the NVIDIA, the data centers, and so that is well established. There's investment going, and that's probably going to continue. The LLMs, there's going to be like continuous improvement, maybe competition, so prices hopefully go down. But I am really expecting the next big shift to continue and then even more accelerate in the space of the business applications. Now, beyond that, I think that there are big, so outside perhaps of the business, big challenges the society is facing. That's health, that's medicine creation, climate, energy, and so. So I really hope that is more of a hope and perhaps expectation that some of the technology and big part of the technology is actually applied for that, rather than someone generating a nice picture. Because that's it's fun use, it's a bit of a joke, but not really making a huge impact. So that would be my more longer term expectation, proper use of the sophistication to make humanity better. I'm also mindful that there's perhaps a little bit of a shadow, I think, related to maybe the employment side as what is the impact. So hopefully there are other jobs created, there is more positive outcome of it. And then also I think that especially people in education, they probably need to consider what is the impact of AI and especially Gen AI on education, the way people learn, the way young people develop. I think that is not trying to be pessimistic or so. I think that should be a big part of the mission of the technological companies to really see the world in the next few years as, okay, what 10 years from now or 15 years from now, if it's Satya Nadella or his successor, looking back and say, remember those 10 years back, guys, those are the 2-3 big things we really solved at the sort of macro scale. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah. So great opportunity. There is a lot of energy in this space. I think it has the potential to be really revolutionary to the extent of, I don't know, the first processor or the internet or the mobile. So yeah, just enjoy it. And I think future of AI is open, and yeah, let's enjoy the ride.
Excellent. Thank you so much. By the way, you mentioned the president. There is a AI CEO of a gaming company for 2 years now. It's called NetDragon, Chinese one. And the share price is still going up. And I researched 2024, they nominated the CEO as a China virtual employee of the year. And there were some statistics, some of them maybe not really CEO, but it approved like 500,000 forms, which otherwise should be signed by managers. It sent like 10 million reminders for projects and so on. And then it coached, it was a significant number, like 40,000 hours coaching employee on personal and professional growth. It's a female avatar, not a 3D, so on a screen it acts.
Yes, yeah. And look, as we sort of shifted into more of a sort of joking conversation, I think I read somewhere this week, might have been Wall Street Journal or the likes of, stating that CEOs are quitting and no one wants to take their job. I don't know if they are under pressure. There is maybe perhaps, according to that article, if I recall it correctly, a bit of a challenge. And yes, maybe there is that degree of help. They can get it. Maybe not to the extent of managing virtual companies or companies in a virtual way, but yeah, there is definitely that potential. So yes, so future is excited. Future is going to be charged by AI. Let's see if that is really revolutionary. And then, a few years from now, what were the key, but really macro scale impactful outcomes? Yes, I'm keen to see.
Excellent. Pawel, thank you so much. You've been very comprehensive, very pragmatic, and also commented on a senior level. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Much appreciated on my side as well. And thank you for the listeners and your audience. I hope that I have contributed with some thinking. I have contributed with a bit of a perspective as well. So yes, let's enjoy the ride.
You certainly did. Thank you.
You.